Hey guys, Deathletter Magic here, and a very interesting post on the MTGA forums 8 hours ago. A lot of people have been screenshotting it and passing it around online. And since, well, I've literally told people to do this as a protest, I figured I ought to cover this. So MTG Arena admin, which I thought all the crew members over there had their own accounts, but whatever. So generic admin person posted, and I quote, "We have recently taken action against players for in-game misconduct related to abusing the timer system, roping, as they put in parentheses. Besides rarely hearing that term, I don't even get it visually, like sandbagging, boat anchoring, slow playing, and time stalling. I've heard those. And as metaphors, those make sense. Roping? That just sounds like another term for kiting, which is where you grab the aggro of a boss in an MMO and then run around in a circle. Anyway, in addition to player reports, we also looked at multiple data points over an extended period of time to help us identify which players we believe are deliberately misusing the system before taking action against their account." Well, I mean, I wouldn't say I do this terrifically often, but I certainly don't do it never, where I just purposely time people out because I'm sick of them taking 5 seconds to make every decision and I just want to throw it back in their face, or I'm sick of the deck that they're running. That's a time-wasting piece of shit. I mean, the best example is Nexus of Fate, where literally I wouldn't get a turn. They just take their turn over and over and over. Well, my response to that every single time I came across it was, "I hope you like 43-second turns every single turn, asshole." And one of these douchebags had him going for 40 minutes before he either just gave up or had to leave or whatever. He forfeited and I ended up winning. So yeah, it's like I'm manipulating a game system to win, but on the other side, he's playing Nexus Infinite turns. So, who's the real bad guy? You know what I mean? It was, like I said, it was a protest. It was, somebody's playing Esper Control, and literally every single permanent and every single spell is eliminated within one turn or countered immediately. So by the time you're at turn 30, you know what? Sandbag the asshole. That's always been my opinion. Always. Screw these people. They're wasting my time. I'm going to waste their time. And any time that I can waste while I'm checking my emails and watching, Netflix and learning Spanish on Duolingo while absolutely, timering them every single turn is less efficient wins for them with their deck that they think is bulletproof. That's obviously, ban bait horse shit. And it's time that they're not playing against anybody else. So I'm actually doing the community a service. How do I justify that controversial standpoint? Well, if they don't want people doing it, shorten the timers. I mean, that's always been my opinion. In fact, I've said what I think the fix is in the past. Bronze League, fine, 45 seconds. And I believe it's 30 per timeout. That's fine. If you're in the Gold, Platinum, Diamond, or Mythic League, you damn well better know how to play Magic at this point, okay? You know the deck at that point. It should be 10 seconds until it goes to timeouts and 20 seconds per timeout. And by the way, if you're wondering, you regenerate them at I believe a rate of, it's either one every other turn or one every third turn. And you can stack up 4. So, I mean, if you need a crazy big combo thing, or you got to click a bunch, or you need a giant, block assignment, and it's very complicated or whatever, you have 20, 20, 20, 20, 10 seconds. I mean, that's, come on. That's what they're there for, use them. But yeah, I don't think any turn should really take more than 10 seconds. I mean, if it does, they're clearly not paying full attention to the game. So that's why I said I'm going to continue to sandbag people to either protest the deck that they're running or to send them a message about how they're being a slow-playing, inconsiderate, distracted asshole. Or they need to shorten it to 10 seconds. It's one of the two. So what are they doing? They're doing neither. They're sending some people an angry email, I guess, and then I guess banning some people. I don't know. I actually haven't found anybody that this affected, me included. Honestly, I'd say 29 out of 30 games I play at full speed. It's a couple outlier assholes that I will purposely slow down because, honestly, most of the time I have better shit to do with my time. But some people on Arena need to be taught a lesson. I think we can all agree with that. So, well, there goes our only ability to protest that. Although, like I said, if you do it as often as I feel is appropriate, apparently you won't have any action taken against you because they did not, I guess, feel that I was doing it often enough for it to be problematic. So, I mean, hey, you do you. I just wanted to warn people about this. Just saying. So the rest of the post here is, let's see. The timer system is an important feature of Magic the Gathering Arena and is designed to allow for additional time to handle complex board states or the occasional real-world disruption. We intend for players to use their timeouts as necessary when also ensuring matches come to a timely conclusion. We were careful to only act against players who we can conclusively prove deliberately and consistently abuse this feature. Players will be notified through email if they were flagged for misconduct, as well as what actions were taken against their accounts. Thank you to all of our players for the reports as we continue to ensure that Magic the Gathering Arena remains the definitive place for fast, fun Magic. So it sounds to me like they were only going after people where like maybe 50% or more of their games, they're just using it to hope that their opponent gets sick of it and then they get a win. Because then if they have, you know, a 2-3% edge because they're running like a tier 1 deck and they're all about equal and whatever, playing so slow that your opponent just says screw it and forfeits like 1/3 of the time, that's going to give you a little bit of an edge. You're going to cruise through the rank system then. So I think they're going after people who are just like rank cheating. So like I said, I don't think that this is the right decision. I think they just need to shorten the damn timer. I don't know how or why they think that you can't get up, answer the door, grab an Amazon package or get a pizza or like go see why your baby's crying or whatever in, 2 minutes as opposed to like, what is it now? I think 30, 45. 2 minutes and 45 seconds. And you know what? If you're gone from the computer for more than 2.5 minutes, deal with your real world shit at that point. Okay, just take the loss. My God. If you can't solve it in 2 minutes, it's serious. You know what I mean? Like at that point, it's more serious than one game of Magic, probably. So yeah, they should have shortened the timer, not just like blindsided some people with an email and probably like, 48-hour ban or a warning or I have no idea. But yeah, the outright rank cheaters, I hope they honestly banned them for like a week. I also think that they're mostly targeting high-level Mythic players too. Mostly because, that's high stakes. Like that is actual like tournament qualifications. So yeah, just take this warning for what it is. Either continue to sandbag people occasionally or don't, however safe you think it is for your account. And I'll honestly probably be doing it less because they've now taken away the one thing we can do to protest shitty decks and shitty players. If you think slow playing Oko douchebags and slow playing Nexus players is inappropriate, quite honestly, you're just an idiot. They absolutely do deserve backlash, and just social pressure on a forum where some moderator deletes it is not good enough. Ruining their play experience in Arena, well, just by sheer coincidence happens to be what they're doing to me. Well then, I guess we're even. Cue all the angry comments from the, unapologetic net deckers who are in denial. They're like, just build a better deck that beats it. Math would indicate that there is none that exists. And, look, they banned Oko, so I guess they agree with me. There is no better deck than Oko decks. And it was an unfair, unbeatable, problematic deck, after all. So, just play better and just build something better. Yeah, you live in a fantasy world called denial, okay? So, since we're on the topic of Arena, you guys know that they had somebody who was making like some kind of weird MTG companion app, and they got like, a million people to run it or 10,000. Or it was some enormous sample size. I think they tracked like 100 million games or 1 million or like whatever it was. It was, if they could draw a conclusion for it, it was a sufficiently large number. That's what I'm getting at. They found that the shuffler is provably rigged. It's off by like a couple percent. And a couple percent at a sample size of like 1 million games, that's significant. A ripple of like 0.1% would be considered anomalous, let alone like 3% or whatever it was. Also, we know that the opening hand amount of lands is rigged because, the MTG Arena admins or programmers or whatever released exactly what they do, how it works, and why they did it. So basically the response to people suspecting that something weird was going on and like tracking little anomalous, statistics about the opening numbers, it resulted in them just admitting it. They have, what they do is they draw 2 hands and then they take, an average distribution of lands, and like it's a different average and a different keep priority if it's like 21 versus 18 versus 24 lands or something like that. Basically, if you're running 21 through 23 lands, they will prioritize a 2-land hand over a 3-land hand and consider that the better one. And in every game, they do 2, and then they pick whichever one they think is better. So if you consistently need a 3-land hand, opening hand, but you're only running 23 because that is the appropriate amount for your curve, too bad, you're going to get stuck with 2-landers an artificially high amount of time. And I mean a hugely artificially uneven amount of the time. Now, their logic was they wanted to eliminate bad games, like 0-landers and 1-landers, so they double draw it and eliminate what they see to be the least helpful, I guess, number of lands. It's just they're wrong a certain portion of the time. And then once people heard about what they did, because they posted it and said what the priority keeps were and how they cascade, and like how this number equals this number and we'll keep this over this over this over this, people took that and they built 13 mountain decks, because 13 was the cutoff. 12 would have prioritized, I believe, a 0 keep over a 1 lander if they were to average it. And they're going to tournaments just blowing people up with that. I mean, I think people even did it at like one of the like Mythic Invitationals or whatever the hell it was called. And people were pissed, because running 13 lands when that would never work in paper, because you know it's going to draw it twice and eliminate the 0 lander and always consistently give you 1 to 2 lands. Because the priority keep on a 13 lander, if you're not getting this, is 1, 2, 0. So if it draws 2 and one of them's 0 and one of them's 2, it's going to keep the 2. If one of them's 1 and one of them's 2, it's going to keep the 1. So people were exploiting the math. They were exploiting the opening hand assistant to artificially rig the game and win more often than they should. Like, that's literally the definition of cheating. What did they do about it? As far as we know, publicly, nothing. I would have put an upper or lower parameter on it, or just outright ask people to configure their deck and ask them, what is your cascading priority keep? There's a hand assistance program turned on. Would you prefer to keep a 3-lander over a 2-lander? Here, drag them in priority order. But they still want it on the down low that that's the system. They don't want it to be like real public that that's what they do. They admitted it, but they don't want it to be like widely known. Kind of funny if you look at the number of views this video is probably going to get. So the shuffler is rigged. The card draws, they group up. That has been proven, absolutely unequivocally proven by somebody on Reddit. And then remember when I tracked who went first in 500 games, and I think I went first like 42% of the time? Actually, I think it was 41. Yeah, a swing of 18% difference is like unequivocal proof that it is astronomically rigged. But lately, I've been tracking it and trying to do what I think causes myself to go first too high of a time above 50% and too low, and I proved it in both directions. And it's even more severe. It's more like, I think it landed somewhere between a 70-30 and an 80-20 split. So to summarize, if I do something that I suspect makes me not go first a certain portion of the time, I go first about 20% of the time. And then when I flip it and do the exact opposite, I do something that I think makes me go first artificially higher, I go first about 70 to 80% of the time. And I've been tracking over 50 to 100 matches. So that's not an anomaly. They're rigging it. And then I loosely track this because, I said, it's really hard to get a really, really high sample size with this, because you need to keep building new decks. Hint, hint, that's how it works. But who you get paired against and what deck they're running seems to be tied to what deck you're running. If you ask anybody who plays 20, 30, 40 games a day on Arena, they will absolutely confirm this, just from their own feeling. Because, there's two groups of people. The ones who suspect that there's riggage in Arena and have already been proven right twice. Once by somebody on Reddit tracking like a million games, and once by the devs of the game admitting, yeah, we do rig the opening hand. But then, these other two categories, who goes first and what deck you're paired up against, those are highly suspected to also be rigged. So there's the, hey, everything in Arena is rigged crowd. And then there's the deniers who, correctly point out that human memory and human impression and how we weight certain things in our memory is very uneven. And humans like to see patterns where there are none. They're not wrong. I mean, that is a thing. That is a real psychological effect. It's just they are wrong because it is happening. I'm tracking the numbers on an Excel spreadsheet. Excel spreadsheets don't lie. If I feel like I don't go first very often, it's probably because in my mind, I more significantly remember the times that I lost because I went second. But it could very well be 50-50 and just my impression is wrong. But when every single game I write down if I went first or not and then total up the columns, human memory is completely removed, okay? And it's a really, really, really significant split. So while the deniers do have a point, they've been proven wrong over and over and over and over and over. And I think we can say with absolute certainty that basically everything in Arena is rigged. Although I say rigged, I mean, some of the stuff might be accidental. In fact, in the follow-up post to the million game tracking thing that Reddit dude made, he had some math that suggested that they're just making a slight mistake in how they build the array that is the deck and then choose a number from it. And they're doing things in the wrong order that are making cards group up too much. And then he said, yeah, in a 60 card deck that it would cause this to shift this percent and this, and that's exactly in line with what we're seeing. So it might just be a mistake. And then beyond that, the rumor is widespread on the internet that the actual game engine, like the 3D engine that runs the game, their random function that you just call when you want a random number is like notoriously not, 50-50 pure random. So the only solution is write an API to a custom piece of hardware, aka photon splitter. These are hard to find. I know of at least one company that makes them. I mean, they invented this like 15, 20 years ago. Like, this ain't new technology. You take a photon and then you collapse its waveform by hitting it on some kind of left-right mirror thing. I don't fully understand it, but basically all photons are in a quantum state, and then when you collapse it, they'll either go left or right, and it'll be 50-50 flawlessly random. Like, if you did 100 trillion results, it'll be like plus or minus the 0.00001% away from 50-50, which is true random. People say, that's not random, that's predictable. No, that you're just an idiot. I don't really feel like explaining to you why you're wrong. You are wrong. Look up what confidence in sigma levels are. Just piss off. Go back to math class, asshole. I'm sick of explaining this. So if they installed those in the server, I think they're like $200. There you go. And then just write an API to get them from there and then generate every single random thing server side, which I'm pretty sure they do already. There you go. Randomness solved. But that would take development time and effort and an understanding of a weird foreign API, which is, I heard, very easy. You're just like requesting a number and getting it back. It ain't that complicated, okay? You're not hooking into a custom-made Oracle database, okay? This ain't, rocket science. But yeah, if they put photon splitters in every single server, problem solved. Like high-end encryption, financial stuff, they use these. Like, this is a real thing. And I'm pretty sure there are services where you could just say, well, we don't want to put them in our own servers because they're like rented and we don't have physical access to them and blah, 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 whatever. Where you could just like, buy groups of random numbers on the fly, like at like ridiculously fast responses. They could just pay per like million requests or something. Like, it's really cheap. But they'd have to code it, to do that. And whether they're running photon splitters or like random.org, I don't know if they have like a buy random number value service, but for free you can get random numbers on their service, and it's based on, I think they said, lava lamps in their lobby. And then another one's like, it just listens to, I don't know, radio signals from space or something. I think some other ones are like digital thermometers and they just record like the 7th decimal point, which is like, I guess, really random. All of those are like, not inherently random, but they're random enough, or they're unpredictable enough to simulate random at a better system than what normal computers do. If you're wondering, I'm sure we're getting way too deep into this already. I lost half of you, but I have a degree in programming, too bad. We're down this rabbit hole and we ain't coming back till I explain this shit. You take a seed from the millisecond point on the clock, the server's actual internal clock. You run it through an equation and it's, quote unquote, close enough. Yeah, those tendencies can be off by 1% plus across the board, which is way too much. So like the laziest way in any programming language is to just call, random, send it parameters. It runs this bullshit equation based on the clock as a seed. And then you get a value back that's kind of random-ish, but honestly not good enough for most uses. Well, when it comes to qualifying for $1 million tournaments, Wizards, I think not good enough is exactly how I would describe that. And like I said, the rumor is with the engine that they're using, Unity, I believe it is, to write the actual game, the equation and the seed grabbing from that framework is like especially bad. So that could be at the root of all this. It could not be, rigged as in they're doing it on purpose, except for the opening hand number of lands. They admitted that. It might just be a flaw in the random number generation that they're too lazy to fix. So whether it's on purpose or it's on accident, I would, not focus on, some players are rudely boat anchoring somebody. And maybe go to, 10% of our players have quit and we're losing millions of potential dollars because our random numbers are shit and everything's rigged. Hey, want a fun do-it-yourself science experiment? Build my mono blue deck and then play against 10 people. And then build my mono white deck and then play against 10 people. See if you notice some patterns in the deck archetypes that you're going up against. I know 10 isn't like the biggest, thing ever, but I tracked this over like months. And what deck you enter into the matchmaking with indicates what deck you will play against, and I suspect that it's to keep people with really good decks from rising in the ranks too quickly. So they think they're doing some good, but in reality, my deck is just that damn good, let me win with it. Piss off. The way I would describe it, and the way everybody who's been paying very close attention to this and kind of tracking it unofficially and stuff, doing some quick by hand tally marks or Excel or whatever, everybody seems to be under the impression that they will eventually find out what your deck loses to and pair you up against it an artificially high number of times to make you play more games and get more losses than you normally would be expected to if your opponent's deck was truly random. So thanks for that, Wizards. So everything I just said, all those 4 massive issues with your software, maybe address that before addressing this roping bullshit that you said. I would not call that a priority, okay? So anyway, at the end of the day, do it if you want to live on the edge or whatever and risk it. Maybe just really reserve it for people who deserve it, but don't do it a lot. Like, if you time stalled every single person playing Oko, you probably would have already been banned, according to what I'm hearing from this post. The best protest you can do right now is just don't play the game. I mean, if they start losing users, and also explain why, because otherwise they'll jump to the wrong conclusion. Like, get on the forums and say, I haven't even had the interest in playing for 2 weeks because I'm just so sick of this net decked bullshit that I can't compete with. And if I copy one of their decks, then it's just mirror matches. So I'm just not interested in playing right now. Standard is an unplayable shit show. Want my money? Pass along to Wizards that they need to ban some of this shit. And I mean, trust me, the devs and the people who work at Wizards are hearing this nonstop, but in my opinion, they're not hearing it enough. So if you really want to do something about the terrifically unfun state of Standard right now, just keep complaining about it online. It actually is constructive. It's not just pointless venting, An artificially high number of players are just, unapologetic net decking douches who don't care what Standard looks like. They just want to copy an easy deck from the internet and get easy free wins. So they're going to continue to kiss Wizards' ass and say nothing's wrong an artificially high percentage of the time. We need to balance it out with what the real people in the real community are actually thinking. Which, according to my comment section, could be summarized as fuck Standard. I mean, some of the comments, if you haven't read them, are constantly, my LGS just stopped holding Standard for FNM. I think I've heard that several hundred times. 100. In case you're wondering, there are only 6,400 stores in the world that play Magic for FNM. So hundreds with an S is a lot. That's a concerning number. That is a concerning amount of lost money, Wizards. Fix this shit. Yeah, screw Arena. Don't boat anchor people too hard and go play Skyrim for the 100th time again. That's what I'm doing. Oh, and I downloaded like every mod that my Discord and Patreon told me to. And, that gameplay footage is going to be spicy. I might even live stream it. People have wanted me to live stream GTA and Skyrim. I'll probably be doing that. But, let me know what you think about this crackdown. Do you think it was a positive thing, or do you think it's taking away people's right to protest bad decks and bad players? I can see both sides of it. I'm taking the route right down the middle that says they should just shorten the damn timers. But yeah, I am curious what everybody's take on this is, because I've heard every reaction, on Reddit and on Discord and everything. So I'm curious what you guys think. So leave a comment down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next video.